The whole love and hip-hop community in Atlanta was rocked by Yandy's recent revelation that she was revealing private texts between mendeecees and Erica Mena, many of which were connected to Scrappy's recent baby announcement. Supporters are stunned to hear that behind closed doors, allegiance moved in whispers and emojis as the ensemble celebrated the newborn while mendeecees and Erica exchanged texts that hint at an unexpected partnership. When a leaked screenshot showed frantic apologies and late-night confessions, tensions ran high, forcing Yandy to demand the truth on television. Long-standing friendships were in jeopardy as tensions between the three erupted, leaving the family split. Was this innocuous banter or a planned power struggle that might potentially alter relationships? Tonight, we examine every secret message, every startled response, and every hidden motivation behind this explosive drama. Nothing stays private in Atlanta for very long, so fasten your seatbelt. With her heart racing with a mix of rage and shock, Yandy barged into the green room, holding her phone like a lifeline. She and the rest of the cast had celebrated Scrappy's new pregnancy announcement just hours prior, with congratulations and laughter resounding throughout the room. As she held up the screen, accusing them of having mendeecees' eyes fixated on them, the same group fell silent. In the faint light, the leaked screenshot shone brightly, a string of late-night communications between him and Erica Mena that were brimming with secret urgency and worry. Fans are surprised to hear that, rather than joining in on the celebration. Rumors were circulating in secret chats behind the scenes of this happy event. Emotions were running high as Yandy's demands for answers reverberated off the walls, destroying the unity that had seemed unshakable only days earlier. Mendeecees paused in the doorway, a look of dread mixed with shame on his face. He started to say something, but Yandy interrupted him while scrolling, her fingers shaking. She said, "Explain this," gesturing to the series of texts that had Erica's name bolded at the top, sincere regrets for not being able to keep this off camera. And mendeecees' own responses, "I didn't want anyone to know." The room remained silent. The family was split between watching the treachery play out on a small screen and being faithful to a father figure. He stood awkwardly beside the craft table, bewildered by the unexpected tension that overshadowed his own moment of excitement. Even though he had been scrappy and unaware of this internal turmoil when he shared his pregnancy news. Ever the opportunist, Tasha K hovered at the edge of the action, recording with her phone up. When she saw instant gold, she knew it. She whispered to her crew, "You all must see this," as she live broadcast the mendeecees' humiliation. As followers, analyzed every pixel of the screenshot. Hashtags including #mendeecees textgate and #Erica Mena conspiracy trended within minutes, causing social media to explode. Others contended that Yandy had overreacted to an innocent acquaintance, while others conjectured that Erica had deceived him with promises of a comeback plot. Murmurs stated that Erica's involvement began when Scrappy's baby announcement threatened to take her prominence. Producers looked at each other hopefully. Behind the cameras, this was the scandal they were living for. Rosita bit her lip in a quiet spot while she observed Yandy's rage. She knew the pain of having personal secrets revealed because she had survived public betrayals. However, she also understood that catharsis could occasionally result from revelations. She softly walked up to Yandy and put a soothing hand on her shoulder. "Inhale," she whispered quietly. "We must also hear his side of the story." But with her eyes flaming, Yandy shook her head. "I'm done listening," she muttered. "This is like having a knife in your back." A living thing was pulsing between them as the tension stretched taut. Fans took care to note on Twitter that this was an honest, unvarnished look at trust being betrayed, not just family drama. Mendeecees, meanwhile, with their faces covered in pale studio powder that suddenly felt like a mask concealing more than just flaws, withdrew to the makeup trailer. He sagged his shoulders and dropped upon a stool. His phone rested on the counter, his unread Erica texts shimmering in the notification light. I thought you understood why I needed to talk, he said, tapping one with trembling palms. I don't love you, that's not why. Everything she spoke felt like a secret confession, which fueled his inner turmoil. More weight than any handcuffs he had ever experienced was the weight of treachery pressing across his ribcage. He could hear the faint murmur of rumors coming from behind the door. Did you see those texts? What a waste of loyalty. The energy of the set was brimming with curiosity and judgment, with her mind rushing over all of her memories of her relationship with mendeecees. Yandy paced in circles back in the green room. She thought about late-night phone calls that were previously personal, but were now contaminated by private discussions. Her assistant lingered close by, her brow furrowed in concern. Would you like me to give his phone a call? She made the offer. With a finger hovering over the screen, Yandy paused. No, she eventually answered in a hoarse voice. I want him to be here. I need him to tell me directly. As anxiety rippled across the cramped room, the assistant swallowed and moved away. Family members were split between those who urged Yandy to pursue communication and those who muttered that the harm had already been done. Erica watched from a distance with her lips squeezed into a narrow line while Yandy waited. She had always insisted that her connection with mendeecees was a simple one, based on respect and a common past. However, the evidence now made her denials seem flimsy. Determined to defend herself, she took a step forward. Yandy, she said, in a firm yet composed tone, you need context. She dared Yandy to listen as her words lingered in the air like a challenge in some social media posts. Fans applauded Erica's courage and her readiness to face the chaos she allegedly contributed to. In others, they denounced her for planning treachery at the most inconvenient time. When the mendeecees eventually came out of the trailer, their eyes red-rimmed and their cheeks flushed. The tension peaked. His eyes flicked between Yandy's eager face and Erica's unwavering gaze. There was a long pause before he cleared his throat, speaking in a barely audible whisper. He stepped toward Yandy and said, I never meant to hurt you. I was just discussing with Erica how to deal with the media backlash following Scrappy's declaration. These things spiral, you know? Although his remarks were sincere and pleading, the text messages that flashed on Yandy's phone like neon accusations. Breathing heavily, she closed her eyes. So, you say? She answered softly. However, words are not as powerful as deeds. Fans who were watching live felt as though they were also ensnared in the triangle of mistrust at that very moment. With each member preparing for the next blow, the family was left split. Others hovered close to Erica, sensing an ally in her cool resistance, while other cast members gathered behind, silently supporting Yandy. Tasha K took advantage of the moment and described each micro-reaction, whispering into the camera, "Look at that expression. This is how betrayal looks." The drama was explosive, a volatile mixture of jealousy, loyalty, and unsaid history that would flare up at the first sin. The room hummed with unresolved tension as Section 1 came to an end. mendeecees looked for forgiveness in her eyes. Erica readied her case for the following round, and Yandy stood with the proof of her anguish. Every heartbeat and hesitancy was captured by the rolling cameras. Clinging to their screens, fans were eager for all the secrets to be revealed. Yandy's parting words, "Truth always finds a way, even in whispers," echoed in the silence that followed as Yandy's confession reverberated across the entire studio. The tension on set exploded. Unsure whether to keep recording or move away from the developing storm, crew members stopped in the middle of the shot. mendeecees leaned against a lighting rig, shoulders hunched, his usual swagger replaced by an uneasy stillness. Erica hovered at the edge of the turmoil, staring at the quivering screen of Yandy's phone as though it contained the solutions to a puzzle she had let loose herself. The happy environment around Scrappy's baby announcement was quickly transformed into a battlefield of secrets and accusations, shocking viewers with how quickly the celebration of new life turned into rumors of betrayal. Tasha K seized the chance, mic in hand, broadcasting live to her excited audience. With a voice full of enthusiasm, she exclaimed, "This is more than just texts. This demonstrates how quickly allegiances may change." Behind her, a helper combed through social media, adding up hundreds of responses ranging from indignant denunciation to empathetic indignation. Some people wondered whether mendeecees had exploited Erica's influence to control storylines. Others felt Yandy's grief and rallied behind her, as alliances broke down and each side struggled with her own version of the truth. The family was left split. Rosita walked the green room, considering her next course of action. She had experience with reality TV drama and was aware that situations like these could alter power dynamics and define reputations. She tapped open her phone and typed a fast note. "We need unity, not more division." But even as she was writing a group letter, she was plagued by doubt. Could such open wounds lead to genuine solidarity? When she looked up, Phaedra and Papoose were silently supporting Yandy on either side. Although their presence was comforting, everyone was reminded by the tears in Yandy's eyes that so much betrayal could not be healed by consolation alone. mendeecees slowly moved into the circle that had formed after pushing off from the rig and approaching Yandy. His voice was scratchy, as he said, "I never meant to hurt you." With his eyes flaming, Yandy's head turned. "So why conceal it?" she retorted, lifting her phone. "Why didn't you inform me that you spoke with her?" His eyes strayed to Erica, whose face was still unreadable. With her posture teetering between remorse and defiance, the courier of the leaked texts stood still. As everyone waited for his response, the room seemed to be frozen in time. He took a deep breath with a low but hurried voice. He clarified, "We were just trying to manage Scrappy's big news. I was concerned about the outcome of the announcement. I believed that Eric and I could manage PR together." His remarks lingered. In the atmosphere like a shaky ceasefire, Yandy's lip trembled. "So you didn't think I could participate in that? Did you expect me to overreact?" She spat, her voice burning with anguish. Her remarks hurt live viewers, who recalled all the times they had applauded her fortitude. As the argument revealed cracks in their relationship, emotions were running high. In an attempt to calm the storm, Erica moved forward with her hands raised. "Yandy, you must comprehend my intention," she said quietly. "I never wanted to undermine you. I offered to assist behind the scenes after observing how overwhelmed you were." She stopped, her eyes wet. "I now realize that suspicion was nurtured by secrecy." She made a basic admission without any dramatic flourish, and her confession was welcomed with a stunned silence. A few members of the cast exchanged startled looks, noticing a vulnerability they had never noticed before. Social media users applauded Erica's candor during that silent time, while raising doubts about her original intentions. With shaky breath, Yandy lowered her phone. She struggled with conflicting emotions while crossing her arms. There was silence for a beat before she gently nodded. "I understand that you meant well," she said in a shaky voice. "However, openness is crucial." She looked at the mendeecees, who nodded in return, regret shining in their eyes. "We'll work this out," he said. The gathering let out a collective sigh at that moment, providing momentary respite amidst a tempest of suspicion. However, the family remained split, with recollections of private discussions too vivid to fade. Under the blinking marquee lights, Scrappy paced outside the studio doors. After returning from a party with friends, he saw that the controversy had eclipsed his happy news. As he read text updates on his phone, his countenance struggled with perplexity and annoyance. He muttered, "You guys are crazy," and hit send on a group chat. "Can someone tell me more?" Within seconds, messages from Erica and Yandy were sent, one requesting composure and the other exposing a series of covert exchanges. As he struggled to reconcile the fracture he now saw with the brotherly closeness he shared with mendeecees, Scrappy ran a hand through his hair. Producers went back inside and took advantage of the opportunity to salvage content. Lhhatl, a confessional, muttered one stagehand. Yandy's sparkling eyes were captured by swiveling cameras as she got ready to tell the truth. Mendeecees and Erica stood apart, creating a tense scene of competing allegiances. As the red light continued to flicker, Yandy inhaled and shared her story, which included late-night uncertainties, hushed assurances that could only be found in texts, and her grief upon unexpectedly learning of a covert alliance because of the candor that broke through the staged drama. Viewers leaned in the control room. Executives observed ratings surges on split screens. Viewership was boosted by the scandal, which spread like wildfire across platforms. However, some scowled. At the expense had disclosing such personal betrayals gone too far, as he considered whether to press farther or create a moment of reconciliation. One producer tapped a finger on the glass. They balanced the allure of explosive content against the possibility of losing the audience's empathy. The core trio began to pull away from the camera's glare as the day went on. Rosita joined her with a bottle of water as Yandy sought comfort in a calm hallway. Rosita gently said, "You did what you had to. However, we must now reconstruct." With tears in her eyes, Yandy nodded. "I understand," she muttered. "But regaining trust is really difficult." Rosita gave her hand a squeeze. "Begin small. Allow actions to do the talking." Behind them, Erica and mendeecees spoke in whispered tones how to patch things up without losing steam on camera. Later, Erica beckoned Tasha K over from a dark part of the lot. She said softly, "I want to clear the air," prepared to demonstrate that this was not malicious. Tasha K, who was constantly craving drama, raised an eyebrow. "Are you serious?" she inquired. Erica gave a nod. "Yes, give more than simply the texts. Give the entire background." After giving it some thought, Tasha K grinned. "All okay, but exclusivity. I must know the scoop." They made an uncomfortable agreement to guide the story toward truth and redemption, which isn't exactly what the audience was hoping for. The three gathered around a picnic table covered in half-drunk soda cans as dusk descended. Apologies and explanations were stumbled through as the conversation began. mendeecees' voice was tense with intensity as they glanced at one another. He remarked, "We forgot that family means honesty." Then Erica wiped her tears. "And that love necessitates openness." Yandy inhaled nervously. "I do want to believe that." The promise of healing wavered in that brittle circle, hesitant and delicate. Fans who were watching online rallied around the idea of reconciliation by typing in hashtags like #TrustRehab and #LHHUnfiltered. Under a violet sky, the studio fell silent. But for the sounds of intense arguments and mumbled apologies bound by scandal and the potential for forgiveness, the trio lingered in the last of the set lights' glow. There was a sensation of new beginnings in the night air as they walked away together, shoulders brushing in quiet unity. The family remained split, but maybe facing the spotlight head-on instead of avoiding it with texts was the way to harmony. This chapter had changed the laws of love and hip-hop Atlanta. The most potent plot point was honesty. No matter how unpleasant, the fallout of last night's revelations created a tense atmosphere in the studio lot the next morning. The main stage was empty of chairs when early crew members arrived, and cables leading back to the altercation from yesterday were scattered like breadcrumbs. Yandy was the first to enter, her cheeks still slightly stained from yesterday's weeping. She passed tiny groups of actors and crew members who were chatting about who had sided with whom as she made her way to the wardrobe truck. Every sidelong glance seemed to be a silent charge. She forced herself to swallow, telling herself that today was not about moping over betrayal, but about restoring trust. Just a few moments later, Erica showed up with her hair freshly groomed, but her eyes still clouded by yesterday's apology. She gave a hesitant nod after glancing at Yandy. Yandy returned it with a bittersweet smile in acknowledgement. more powerful than any dramatic gesture. In the halogen light, they stood side by side like two ladies united by an unscripted story. Followers had already turned hashtags into internet battlefields, debating who deserved pity and who was the genuine villain, as domestic viewers took sides and mobilized online. The family was left split even worse. Next, Mendeecees entered the light with his hands clasped loosely in front of him. He felt strangely vulnerable without the physical shackles of cuffs, as if the unseen chains of shame were still holding him in place. He stopped, his heart pounding when he saw Erica and Yandy standing together. He realized then that small deeds of empathy and openness would be the price of redemption. His voice was low and sincere as he cleared his throat. He whispered, "I know a hashtag doesn't solve everything, but I want you both to know that I'm determined to be honest going forward." His unadorned remarks lingered in the air, and each woman gave a silent nod. The tentative peace that was developing in front of them was witnessed by Phaedra, Rashida, and Papoose, who were already seated. Like seeing a broken vase being gradually put back together, the soft moment taking place in the middle of them was juxtaposed with the harsh brightness of studio lights. Yandy inhaled deeply before sitting down, her chair making a gentle scraping sound against the laminate floor. With Eric and Mendeecees seated on either side, a visual trinity representing conflict and hope was formed. "This season, we've all been through hell," said Yandy, in a tone more composed than she felt. "And while nothing can erase what happened, I believe we can learn from it." With a serious face, Erica leaned in and rested her elbows on the table. "We've witnessed the destructive power of secrets," she continued. "I'm placing mine on the table today." She pulled out her phone and opened a thread of texts she had sent to the network's public relations staff. The messages included drafts of an apology, requests to keep the paternity drama off social media, and proof that she had been upfront and honest with her business partners. She muttered, "I wanted to protect everyone from a media storm," as the glow from the screen reflected. In her eyes, Mendeecees nodded, tears in their eyes. He said, "And I hid in those messages. I believed I was protecting Yandy, but I actually made things worse." He gently touched Erica's hand as he reached across the table. "Pardon me," he said. "Millions?" Of viewers watched as the boundaries between performance and reality once more became hazy. The room seemed to sigh in relief for a minute as the emotions were running high. The delicate silence was soon broken by the sound of sneakers on pavement. With a tense, pallid face, Scrappy strode in. He had his own phone with a cracked screen from a previous incident, but the notifications continued to flash. His voice was strained as he declared, "I just saw what went down. Even though I may not be fully informed, I know that family deserves the truth." His eyes softened as he turned to face Yandy. He stated, "I never intended for my baby news to be overshadowed. I believed that this would unite us." Yandy's mouth quivered. "It did, and more," she muttered. Scratchy sat down next to Mendeecees and looked around at the faces. His tone was decisive as he stated, "We must decide how we move forward together or apart." Rashida raised her voice, forceful but friendly. "Yes, we are a drama-loving family, but we are also bonded by blood and tradition." Phaedra went on, "And what message are we sending if we can't rely on honesty now?" Camera operators, acutely aware that this might be this series' most spontaneous moment, recorded every word. The three of them, Yandy, Mendeecees, Erica, exchanged looks as they considered how easily trust could be betrayed. With both hands on the table, Yandy uncrossed her arms. "Despite our imperfections, I want to convey to our fans that we remain a family," she said. "I won't sugarcoat it, though." With a rare tenderness in her face, Erica grinned. She added, "I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to make this right." Mendeecees' thumb brushed her knuckles as he went for Yandy's hand. He declared, "This is our truth. Additionally, it's the only tale worth sharing." Phones rang with real-time comments during the moving testimony. In real time, viewers typed, "I respect them for owning up. This is real talk, and I'm here for the healing." On social media, the family was no longer split. For the time being, they united behind the prospect of expansion. However, because reality TV thrived on the unexpected, producers knew the next twist was always coming. At that moment, a breathless intern rushed in. She screamed, "Guys, PR just announced that Erica's phone was compromised. Some of the texts may have been altered." The room went cold. Erica's face lost its color. "What?" Yandy blurted. A water cup splattered across the notes as mendeecees slammed his fist against the table. Rosita let out a gasp. The eyes of Scrappy narrowed. "You mean to tell me that we have been expressing regret for the fakes?" he insisted. The pals exchanged glances as it dawned on them that their tenuous tranquility may break at any time. Mendeecees leaned close, frowning. "We must confirm," he stated. "Bring in our technical staff." In order to authenticate messages, Erica fumbled for her phone, her fingers darting across the screen. With a knot in her stomach, Yandy watched her. Is this a sad turn of events or another betrayal? At home, supporters experienced a surge of excitement and tweeted hashtags like #FakeTextGate and #TrustNoOne. Once again, the family found itself split up, caught in a tornado of uncertainty that threatened to reverse their gains. The three of them huddled in a corner with anxious, hushed voices while technicians arrived with laptops and forensic software. Yandy put her palm to her forehead. She stated, "I just want the real story." With a shaky voice, Erica nodded. "We are entitled to the truth." With his heart racing, mendeecees closed his eyes. "No matter what it takes," he stated, "let's solve this." Camera teams hovered outside the temporary investigative area, catching suspicious and united shadows under the blue illumination of screens. The lead tech interrupted abruptly, saying, "We have recovered the original logs. After you sent them, the messages between you two were changed." Silence descended. Yandy withdrew her hands from her face, eyes wide, with relief and regret mixed. Together in her eyes, Erica let out a breath. Mendeecees exhaled nervously. "Therefore, it wasn't you," he said. "Eric, someone else was attempting to destroy us." The family was split up by an unidentified saboteur who was waiting in the wings, not by secrets anymore. But that hack happened just hours before Yandy revealed the texts. The tech continued before they could celebrate. Whoever did this foresaw the consequences and did it at the ideal moment. The three of them looked at each other doubtfully. When they understood that the true enemy might not be among them, but rather lurking in the shadows, their emotions were running high. Cameras outside turned back toward them, anticipating what they would do next in this game of treachery and atonement. The stakes had just risen from personal turmoil to a more complex enigma that would put their relationship to the ultimate test. As the forensic team presented their findings, the tension in the temporary tech hub exploded. An unidentified hacker had altered the text logs by taking advantage of a flaw in the messaging app. As Erica and mendeecees watched, their faces displaying a mixture of relief and disbelief, Yandy's shoulders drooped. The three of them were momentarily brought together by the shock of this fresh betrayal, which was more painful since it had taken advantage of their faith in technology. Fans' hearts raced as they watched live, divided between pity for the injured, family, and indignation at the saboteur, with her phone weighing heavier than ever in her fingers. Yandy stepped forward and closed it gently. She looked directly into mendeecees' eyes and smiled hesitantly. "So, the texts weren't from you," she remarked in a tremulous voice. With ragged breaths, mendeecees released the weight of his shame. He stepped closer and said, "I never wanted to hide anything." With sparkling eyes, Erica nodded. "I apologize for questioning your motives," she continued, extending her hand to clasp Yandy's. They restored their shattered unity in that modest effort, as though it had been holding its breath to the room. Let out a breath. A murmur rippled through the cast and crew who had gathered behind them as they embraced a hostile stranger magnify her heartbreak. She started crying, but her dedication to honesty gave her strength. I thought we were broken because of secrets between us. But it turns out someone else tried to break us apart, she said passionately. As the cameras rolled for her confessional, we now know the truth, and I'm resolved to proceed with open minds and hearts. Her remarks resonated, transforming individual suffering into group resiliency. Mendeecees thought about forgiveness and accountability while preparing his own sermon. Even when I felt guilty, I learned about loyalty in its purest form, he said quietly to the crew. Erica stood up with the truth. Yandy supported me, and Scrappy showed me the true meaning of family. It cannot be undone by a hack. He stopped, looking around at the team who had seen him go from shame to salvation. His vulnerability, which contrasted with his anticipated arrogance, caused spectators to feel a wave of appreciation. Erica created a moving story about impact and intention by embracing her dual roles as mediator and catalyst. She admitted in her confessional how the hacking incident exposed the brittleness of presumptions and how her desire for the truth had turned into